You are now tuned into the First and 10 podcast brought to you by Oxford Media. I'm your host, Brandon Graham, and I'm pleased to be joined by another special guest, Dejon Brissett of the Toronto Argonauts, Mississauga native as well, too. Dejon, thank you very much for joining the show today. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I know you're getting ready for the season, of course, putting in the work at Beulah Field and so on and so forth. You're going around. But I want to talk about your overall, journey with football and just in journey in general to where you got to get into this point here. I wanted to bring it back all the way to Loyala Catholic Secondary. I'm a teacher in the PO District School Board. So being at Loyola, I know you're an avid basketball player. You played 3 sports in football, basketball, and track as well, too. And, of course, set a bunch of crazy – I saw the numbers. I'm like, my goodness, crazy. But at Loyola, I know you played for the Mississauga Warriors as well, too. Other than that, like, you still – basketball was your passion at first, right, with that? Is that true? Yeah, it was.
Basketball was the biggest thing, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. And going from there, how did it work with you leaving very young? I know you probably left around the 15, 16 age to go to Lake Forest Academy in Illinois or in Chicago in general. Like, how did that transgression actually happen in itself?
Yeah, so actually it happened from a Mississauga Warriors game. There was a scout in the stands, and he had a relationship with the coach at the high school at Lake Forest Academy. And he's known for putting Canadian guys in prep schools like that. So once he saw me playing, he said, "No, this kid's kind of athletic. Let me call his coach." And a few days after that game, I think I had a pick in that game. I was playing safety at the time.
Okay.
And he called me and said, "Hey, would you want to come play, football here?" And they're like, "I wanted to play basketball." They said, "You can play basketball as long as you play football and run track." And I was like, "Okay." And then it was kind of.
Got it. And of course, from there, I'm a guy that's just revered, of course, now a broadcaster with TSN, but you're a really good friend, Natey J. Natey, I just want to talk about his influence on you getting into football, because I remember seeing his quote saying that you were training just as hard or even not harder, and when you're even younger, I believe you're in high school, while they were training with CFL guys that are in D1, so on and so forth. Like, how was his influence on you playing football in general, right? Because you're still a basketball athlete at that time as well.
Yeah, I would say he was the biggest influence in that transition. Him and a bunch of the guys. We trained at a place called Target Training back then, and so all the guys in there, like Denzel Phillip, him, Blair Smith, all the CFL guys. Jawan, Tavon Smith was there for a little bit, and those guys were kind of telling me like, "Yo, you could really play football," and I wasn't hearing it because I really wanted to play basketball. But I spent a summer with Natey, just going through like how to actually be a receiver, and he took me through a bunch of drills. I think the videos are still on YouTube. And after that summer, I went back to Chicago and I had a really good year, and that's when I kind of started getting offers and D1 interest, and that's when I knew. So Natey was a huge influence, if not the biggest influence in terms of football.
That's awesome. And even I know your mom even, asked Natey, hey, he's choosing to go full send with football, and, can we charge you? And he said, no, that's my little brother. Like, I'm going to do it regardless. Right. So it just shows the kind of, the kind of character he has. But Malcolm Chaka is another guy who went to Gates, then went to Lake Forest with you. Like, was it, of course, greatly comfortable with you going to Lake Forest in Chicago with guys that you pretty much knew, I believe, from OVFL, right?
Yeah. I played with him on the Warriors, and then he was supposed to come a year early, but he ended up coming a year after. And there were a handful of Canadian guys at Lake Forest. I don't know, because Faith Akakity, he started the streamline to Lake Forest Academy. His younger brother Daniel Joseph, he went there, and there's a handful of Canadian guys, and so it was comfortable. And I'm still friends with all those guys today. Like Malcolm, he's doing well. He went to Cornell. He's doing law school now. So, it was like a little community.
That's awesome, man. And I want to talk about your coach, Robin Bulkett. I believe I'm saying it properly, but just being in Chicago, leaving Loyola, going to the States, at a really young age as well, too. I know your mom was really worried about that, but I'll get into your relationship with your parents and how they've inspired you really soon. But how was Robin Bulkett's coach, his influence on you as well, too? The morals that kind of set in you guys with all the, the drills and whatever it may be. Like, how was it different from being in Canada compared when you went to the States? Like, how do you think he molded you in a sense?
I would say from a football standpoint, the way he ran his program was like how they run it in college and how they run it in D1 and how they run it in the pros. Like we reported to camp early. We were the only ones on campus. We had film in the giant classroom, and we were doing all that early. And I had no idea what was really going on at the time. But as I got older, I realized that he kind of set the what do you call it? The
foundation, right?
The foundation.
Yeah, there
he
you
kind
go.
of set that and kind of like introduced me to patterns that I needed to know for college and now in the pros. So we would do all that, but outside of football, he was very like family oriented. He always had his family with us, and he always, we didn't have that many like guys who were actually football players. We had like a handful, and then everyone else was just kind of, so everyone was playing both ways. And the way that he kind of ran it was like, he said, we're all we got, and we're all we need. So that's just kind of like been kind of in me since I was with him. So he definitely, and the difference between that and Canada was just kind of the infrastructure around it. Like we came to campus, we know we were football players and we did everything, but we had to have our grades good, and everything was just kind of around the program. So, I respect him for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. And one thing I would say too is like, you touch on education and family as well too, and yourself having the master's in business as well too, and your family obviously implementing the importance of education. Was it your decision, going to Richmond, was education a major factor with that? Was the business program that drawn you to go to Richmond at first to play for Danny Rocco?
Yeah.
So that was it. That was it. Okay, perfect. So with that being said too, you talked about the infrastructure of football that was laid down by Coach Boquet, but you did say in an interview as well too that you want to help work with inner city kids in Toronto to build the infrastructure of football down here. Do you feel like it's lacking heavily compared to the States right now? Like what would you even do to kind of bring that to life? Is that still a goal of yours?
Yeah, I would say it's lacking. It's lacking for sure. Like and I don't mean to disrespect anyone who's trying to make it a real thing, but the difference between the States and Canada in terms of football is night and day. Like, and our weather doesn't really help that either. But in the States, like even in Chicago, for example, there's places to go and train. There's indoor facilities with football lines, not just soccer lines, and there's places to actually get right. And so my goal is to bring some of that here. Like my brother and I, we've been talking about building a facility. We want to do that. We want to have kids. Like, everyone wants to play basketball here, which is fine. I was one of those kids as well, but not all of us are going to make it. I was one of those kids who didn't make it in basketball. Yeah. But, I put those cleats on and I was getting offers for football because I was able to dunk basketball. You know what I'm saying? So I want to show kids here, like, look, it's possible to go to Ohio State. It's possible to go to Richmond. It's possible to go to Virginia. It's possible to go anywhere. You just put these cleats on and you're athletic enough that you learn how to run a route and you're unstoppable. So I really want to come back. I really want to give back and build that infrastructure because the talent's here. We all know Canada has amazing.
Of course.
Look at the guys in the NFL now. We don't talk about them as much. We should talk about them more. But Mention just got drafted. Josh Palmer is with the Chargers. You know what I'm saying? There's a guy named Brent Urban from Mississauga, went to Virginia. I think he's with I don't know who he's with right now. He's a little older, but he's in the taste friend. Like the talent's here. Tavon Smith was with Jacksonville and with Indiana. So I just want to bring that back and build that. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, 100%. And you talk about the talent comes out of just Peel in general. Like I'm from Brampton, seeing guys like I'm the same age as Tristan Thompson. Those guys went off, and there's so much talent running through Saga with Brandon. So much talent going forward, right? So it's great that you want to build that. But I did want to touch a little bit more on with Nate because Nate's great, obviously. But do you think you learn a lot of your more of your nuance with your routes and like how to set up your defender from him? Like just more of the art of the game from him, or did you kind of learn yourself? Because going from basketball and as heavily as you did with football, like there's a learning curve there. But would you say that he was probably the most instrumental one, or was it more your coaches?
I would say Nate was the most instrumental one because before I spent that time with him, I was really just like out athleting everyone, just running by people, jumping over them to catch the ball. He's really the first one that took me around cones and took me through ladders and showed me like, this is how you run this route. This is how you run that route. This is how you beat somebody up in line of scrimmage. So I would say Nate was the first one to show me any of that. And anything that I learned after that came from just repetition, practice, and just doing it. So he definitely set the foundation for that.
Got you on that. And one thing, I did watch an interview with yourself and Donovan Bennett, who's been on this podcast as well too. But you did say your brother said that he was like really scared of going down the States, and shout out to your brother, of course. But yourself as well, like being the first one and being the role model. Like, were you still scared of leaving like Loyola, going to Illinois at the time? Like how were you feeling at a young age? If you could go back to when you left, like how was that feeling, leading your family, so on and so forth, with that?
Yeah, surprisingly, it wasn't like I was not scared. I don't know why.
Wow.
And my parents weren't scared. Like it was just kind of something that we felt that needed to happen, because we knew like where I wanted to be at, and everyone back then was going prep. So that's just the thing, that if you were good enough and you had the opportunity, you had to go. Right. So I wasn't like, I don't know why I wasn't scared. I don't know why my parents weren't scared, but it was kind of like a seamless transition.
Got you. And of course, then you're offensive player of the year in high school, and going into Richmond, of course, you end up being all for first team all CAA. I believe that's what the thing is. And of course, you play with guys like Kyle Loyala, right? You told him, just like, did you go up to your quarterback and be like, hey, just throw me the ball, I'm gonna get the ball? Like, you just, because you do have like, you're a deep threat. Like how was that relationship with yourself and the quarterback at Richmond? Because you put up such big numbers.
Yeah, no, it was good, and it took a while, because when I first got there, I wanted to play, but they were thinking about redshirting me because I got hurt in camp, right. And so I messed up my groin in camp or something. But guys got hurt, and I ended up being on the field. And Kyle threw me my first catch in college was a touchdown, and it came from Kyle. So then he always and Kyle had always been in my corner, and still to this day is in my corner. And he saw it in me from a young age, and then. Once I got to my junior year, that was my first year starting, and we had spent summers together, like, because he was on campus and I was on campus, so we'd always go on the field and do some stuff. And so the chemistry was already there. And junior year, like, him and I just kind of went crazy. And we were just in Tampa, not just in Tampa, but this offseason we went in Tampa, and the chemistry is still there. Like, it's something that's awesome.
That's awesome. I actually know a cousin of mine actually played in that same field. I saw the little clip. I'm like, he's from that same field in Tampa. Now he's at Guelph University playing DB. So that's awesome. I saw the video though. That's awesome. So going from there, now you're at Richmond, where you choose to, I believe you got injured, but you chose to transfer to Virginia. But initially, you wanted to initially go to Illinois because it's still in that Chicago area. But going to Virginia, like how, like I know you're with Coach Mendenhall, I believe at the time, Coach Mendenhall. How was that transition? Were you geared there because of education as well, or like what was because you wanted you got your master's, which is incredible, but was that kind of the leading force there because you wanted to instill education in general?
I think like when I first entered the transfer portal, I was kind of hoping Virginia would offer me, because it's right there. It's an hour away from Richmond, and I played against them. I'd been to that stadium. Like, I already knew what time it was, and. It wasn't so much about the education as much like undergrad. I went to Richmond because of education. Of course. This time I chose the school because of the quarterback play, like the like how established the quarterback was, and Virginia had a really established quarterback more so than Illinois. Illinois didn't really know at the time who the quarterback was going to be. So I ended up going there because Bryce Perkins, he was the quarterback at the time. He had already had a year there. He was going into his second year, and they already had things going. And, it didn't work out the way it was supposed to, but that was the driving factor going there.
Got it, which makes total sense. And I wanted to ask about your mentality with recovery as well, too. I don't want to dive too much into the injuries, but in that period at Virginia when you were out in the bit, like, what were you telling yourself to kind of get through your injuries, just mental altogether, man? Because right now I tore my Achilles 2 weekends ago playing with guys like Matt Coates in touch football. Wow. Like, I'm going through for the first time, right? So how was your mentality going through all of that, and even in your graduate year as well too?
Well, first of all, shout out Matt Coates, man. He was the guy who was there when I first started too. But it was tough. Like, that was easily the toughest mental challenge I've ever faced in my entire life so far. Right. Like, that time at Virginia was hard because I went to a bigger stage in the ACC to increase my draft stock. And so once I got there, I got my physical. They said, no, you're hurt. You have to get another surgery. I missed camp. I missed the summer workouts. And I missed the first couple of games of the season. and then they started off 4-0 or 5-0 or something like that. So it was like, it was tough because I could see them realizing that they didn't need me, you know, because they're already winning. And I'm this new guy from Richmond, like I'm hurt, right? So mentally it was really, really, really challenging. But like I kind of just told myself, like this is what you signed up for. Like you decided to come here. You have nobody to blame but yourself. And this is how it's happened, and it's happened like this for a reason. And then I really got into my faith that, you know, like God kept showing up in certain ways, and that allowed me to really be calm and just, you know, I have faith that it's going to work out. So like it was a combination of, you know, you have nobody to blame but yourself, and God kind of helping me do that.
Guys, and faith, they definitely got you. And that's definitely what a lot of people roll. That's what I'm trying to roll on right now as well too. But yeah, that's awesome. That's a great answer there. I did want to jump into now that being, I believe, 2019, and then in the 2020 draft, you get drafted number 2, and of course everything was leading up to you. I believe Jordan went first, and then of course you went to Toronto. But how was that feeling with yourself, your family, that, you know, things still paid off? You still didn't get a chance to, you know, fully have a season since 2017, but how is that feeling with yourself and your family? Like when you go back to that night, man, how did it feel?
That was a great feeling, like, and especially because a couple weeks before I didn't get an NFL opportunity, so I was really down by that. But then when the CFL draft came around and pinball called me, like it was just like a bunch of emotions. Like it was really fun. My family was right there. And the fact that it was Toronto made it better because now my family can watch me play. And my brother at the time was with the Raptors. So like it was just like everything just came full circle, and it was crazy. It was really fun.
That's awesome. Everything paid back, you know, full circle. And now being with the Argos, yeah, I went to every single game, you know, doing media, just being there in general, man. And you know, in Ryan Dinwiddie's system, and even playing with Cloud Bethel Thompson, like how do you see yourself, you know, complementing this? I know you can complement the offense a lot, but what are your goals this upcoming year being in that system? What do you like about that system as well too, that Dinwiddie's in place, implementing? Sorry. Yeah.
I think the way I see it is we have vets on the team. So we have Juwan, we have Bars, we have E. You know, so the way I see it is like my role is to just kind of go in where I fit in, and if anyone goes down, I'm the next man up. That was my role last year. And so the way I see it is, if that's my role again this year, I'll be happy, because if I get the same amount of opportunity as I did last year, like I'm a happy man, because I know now going into it, like all the rookie mistakes, all the rookie nervousness, all that's out the door. So, and I left a lot of plays on the field last year. You said you watched every game. I'm sure you know, like I left some stuff out there. I made some plays, but I could have made a lot more. And so this year going into it, I'm going in like, okay, I have a different approach. I can't control if I start or not. I hope to, but I'm gonna do what I have to do in camp to make that a possibility. But even if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna be ready for when my moment comes, and I'm gonna take off there. And the thing I like about the offense is, like, everybody gets the ball. So you know, and you know, especially in our game, like the Z on the field is kind of left out to dry sometimes. Yeah. But Hurley was an all-star at Z.
Yeah, that's nuts.
You know, that's what I love about offense, because we'll bring him down and we'll use him, and Curly's a dog. And he kind of made it that way, you know. So that's the biggest thing. Like everybody eats, everyone gets some shots. Wherever I fit, I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome, man. And the fact that, this year I expect you to definitely have a great season, of course, going forward with that, man. But just your goal off the field as well, too. Like, are you making appearances with, like, at your old high school in general? Are you going back and, you know, doing stuff in the community, or are you still just the goal with yourself and your brother to just have that facility later on? Like, where right now are you, you know, focusing on off the field?
Yeah, I mean, the facility is the end goal. But no, I definitely want to go back to high schools, and even if I could just talk to the kids, and not even about football, but just about mindset and stuff like that. You know, I'm doing something on Sunday at Downsview, where I'll be, you know, at this flag football camp, and just being there, maybe even to show kids like a little, teach them something, you know, football or anything, just how to approach a day, how to wake up and have a positive mindset, because the way you think about things is the way they're going to be. So like that,
Absolutely.
if I can do that in any way, go back to high schools, go to events, I'm do that.
Definitely, man. And last thing I wanted to touch on is your family. Family, of course. Your brother. You said that in a few interviews that like, hey, my brother's he doesn't know how much he's inspired me, and your parents as well too. Having everything together and making sure that you all got the opportunities that you set up for, and it worked out. But how they kind of implemented a foundation in you and pretty much making sure you're grounded. Do they make sure you're grounded throughout the season? Like how was the influence of your parents as well as your siblings kind of had an effect on you? Being the oldest sibling, yeah.
Right. I mean, my parents, even from a young age, like they've always kept us busy. Like we were always doing something, always on the road, going to practice. Even no matter what sport it was, like not football, basketball, soccer, like anything, So sport just kind of has always been a thing in our family, and so now it's almost like any accomplishment we have is not like a huge celebration. It's more like we kind of expected it to happen, Like when Oshae got with the Raptors and when he got his first buckets, it's a celebration for sure, but it's like, hey, we knew this was going to happen. Right. And so now that I'm playing here and, I'm making plays and if they can't make it to the game, they're watching it on TV. It's just like we talk after the game, hey, you did good, like don't get down on yourself. It's more like encouraging, They always look out and make sure we're doing well mentally because we, as athletes, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And so now the family doesn't really push us. They're just now they're there to make sure we're straight, make sure our mentals are good, make sure we're eating. Like my aunt, today, always like, hey, come over for Sunday dinner. Go have oxtail,
Okay, what? Okay, that's wild. I hear you. Okay, all right, man. And with that, that's awesome. And with that being said, like you as a receiver, because I play receiver, play quarterback as well too, but wanted to know if there's a certain play that's left out there. You mentioned you had some plays that are left out there. Like, how do you like mentally have yourself bounce back? Are you still thinking because you have great hands, right? If there's a drop ball, obviously you're gonna get down on yourself. But what are you telling yourself? Do you have a quick memory? Like how is that process in your mind in general when that happens?
I feel like now I know to have a short-term memory, like you said. Yeah. But I remember my first start against Hamilton, I was playing Y, and I had a end zone. Nick Arbuckle threw me a beautiful ball in the back of the end zone. And like me and the defender kind of battled for it. It bounced off my leg and picked it up. That would have been my first touchdown. Right. And that messed me up for the rest of the game and weeks after that. Like I was so down on myself. I was so hard on myself. I remember I called Jawan on the phone and I tried to be like, yo, like, what do I do? I called my teammates from Richmond trying to get some advice. Right. And they just kind of told me like, bro, like, you're the only one still thinking about it. You're the only one still thinking. Nobody remembers that. We won the game and you're the only one down on yourself. So after that, I kind of realized like the things I put myself through mentally, can't do that because you're not the next play. You're going to be thinking about it and you're going to drop the ball again. So now going into it, I'm like this, like remind yourself, like you said, I have good hands. Remind yourself that you have good hands. Remind yourself that you're here. Like you're playing pro ball. Like you're good. Everyone drops the ball, but you got to remind yourself that you're really like that. Mm-hmm. You have to kind of be cocky about it. Like, yo, I'm a pro player on a pro field right now, like for a reason. Mm-hmm. So never doubt the fact that you got yourself to that point. And so now going into my second year, I'm going to have that mentality and I'll dust off the drops because they're going to happen,
Pretty much saying I'm him. Yeah, you have to go into that. I think a lot of young players would definitely benefit from hearing exactly what you hear. And there's some young players that are in high school and of course college actually listen to this podcast. So that definitely going to take that going forward. And the last thing I want to leave you with, I want to ask you first, I want to know what your favorite route to run is and your favorite double move as a receiver. What are those two? You go.
My favorite route was post. I love the post route. That was my number one route in high school. We had a play called Actor Hot. This was the signal play. Actor Hot. I scored so many touchdowns on that. In college, I had some posts that I scored, deep ball. And in camp with the Argos, I had some posts for touchdowns last year. But then my double move, I would say I would say probably just to stop and go, like dig, pretend, stop, like I'm running like a stop route, and then
gone. Okay. And are you, especially because you said you're a post, you love burning posts, are you one that actually gives, like, when you get up to the defender, you're almost like, are you faking it so you're going to the corner and then go to the post? Like, are you just giving like a head fake? Like, what do you usually do as that? I just want to
what I like to do is make it seem like I'm running past him. So once he turns his hips like this, it's over. I'm going that way, and he can't cover. He can try the baseball turn all he wants, but by then I'm already in my dig, look for the ball after 3 steps, and it's over.
There you go, man. Hey, Dejon, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to actually have this conversation, man. It was an excellent conversation. And I hope you all the best, of course, this year going forward. And I love the fact that you have your master's and, of course, emphasize the importance of education, because a lot of these kids just say, I'm going to go to the league, I'm going to do this. But you have to look at life after football as well, too, at some point, too, right? But are you, like, what are your goals when you plan to, when it's all over, whenever your career, when you decide your career is to be over, what do you plan to get into after that? You plan to get into business? Like, what exactly are you planning to do?
Yeah, well, ultimately is running that facility, and I want to have, like, I have dreams of hosting camps where NCAA teams come in for both sports, football, basketball, all sports, and having like guest appearances, like using my brother's network, using my network from guys who are in the league, and having them come and run camps and having them talk to kids, and hosting the first ever CFL draft in person, like something like that.
That would be awesome.
That would be cool, stuff like that. So there's that, like, football side of things that I want to do. But in terms of business, I think I would like to work in the bank in some capacity, maybe sales, or I've always been scared of finance, like, accounting and stuff like that. But if I can learn that, maybe go get my MBA and do that, that would be something I would be interested in for sure.
Definitely. And you mentioned even like hosting the CFL draft, and I wanted to get out here, but I have to ask you this question because you have some great answers. But do you think the CFL can do just a better job with the draft and just like more exposure for players, and just like, especially for the local talent, right? You've come from Saga. There's so many guys looking up to you right now, want to be in your spot, right? Like, what do you think the CFL can do to kind of augment that a bit? Just to give your opinion on how they can do that.
No, that's a great question. Just like what you said, like, just tell the stories of the players. Like, the players are the core of the league. Without us, there's nothing. So why not magnify the fact that I'm here, Jawan's here, Jack Gassar, linebacker, he went to Loyal Park, he's here. Like that should be, when I was in the States, I never really watched the CFL unless Jawan or Nate or Messin was playing, because, and even when you come back home, it's like a lot of people don't even know there's a team here. Like,
it's nuts.
Absolutely
sad.
They use the fact that Toronto, the Maple Leafs, the Raptors, the Blue Jays are here. Like, to me, that's not a disadvantage. That's an advantage. Absolutely. Give Freddie a jersey, let him come to the game, and just, like, publicize that. Or why not? The talent is here. The product is here. Like, I'm lining up against guys who played years in the NFL. Like, the guys here are good. We are good players. So why not just market it that way?
Absolutely.
I might be naive. I don't know the ins and outs, the finances. I don't know, but I don't think it's that hard.
No, it's really not that hard. And I'm going to try to do as much as I can as well, too, to kind of put everyone on and talk a lot more about CFL football, because it's a great product and the players are great as well, too, and they come from where we come from, which is amazing, right? All right, awesome. Hey, Dejon, thank you so much for your answers, of course, for your journey in general as well, too. I would like to do this again, having some conversations some point in the future. But hey, thank you so much. Where can they find you on Twitter and on Instagram right now?
My Instagram name is dbrissett18, and my Twitter is OOH_Canada. So just
there we go. I appreciate it, Dejon. Hey, this is the First and 10 podcast hosted by Brandon Graham. Keep balling. Thank you, everyone.